Hi, welcome to my new unit on coordinate geometry. This is the first video, and this video is pertaining to the midpoint of a segment. And the midpoint formula we'll discuss first. And I just want to mention the note that I have here. Midpoint formula is mid, means middle, and the middle is the average of the x and the y values. So if we have 2 points, x1, y1, x2, y2, this is the first point, that's the second. Then big M stands for mid. Then you add up the x's over 2, comma, add up the y's, and divide by 2. So let's do some examples. This is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. And the midpoint formula, M, and we're dealing with the segment AB. So the midpoint formula, if you want to, I'll write it down a couple of times. x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. And in terms of the points, x1 is 1, x2 is 5, divided by 2. And we have a comma there. I didn't need that comma because I already have it here. And we have a 4, add on 0 over 2. And that gives us 6 over 2 and 4 over 2. So the midpoint is 3, 2. So midpoint of two segments have midpoint is in the middle. And you notice halfway between 1 and 5 is 3. Halfway between 4 and 0 is 2. So let's find the midpoint of FT, M, and we're doing the segment FT. And without writing down the whole formula, let's just go, it's x1, negative 1, add on, negative 6 over 2, and it's negative 3, add on 7 over 2. And that gives us negative 10 over 2, and that gives us 4 over 2. That gives us negative 5 and 2. Again, halfway between negative 4 and negative 6 is negative 5. Halfway between negative 3 and 7 is 2. And we have a graph here with, let's see what the coordinates of Q are and P. The coordinates of P and Q. P, X is negative 1, Y is 3. Q, X is 5, Y is negative 3. So this is X1, Y1, X2, Y2. So we're getting the midpoint of PQ, and let's fill it in. X1 plus X2 is negative 1 plus 5 over 2, and 3 and negative 3, so it's 3 plus negative 3 over 2. That's 4 over 2, 0 over 2, so it's 2 comma 0. So as you can see, here's P and Q, and halfway is right there. So that's the midpoint of 2, 0, right in the middle. And we have a practice session here, a couple of problems. Find the midpoint of the segments. So the midpoint of NV, and here we go. This is x1, y1, x2, y2, and so we negative 6 add on negative 2 divided by 2, and 1 add on negative 3 divided by 2. That's negative 8 over 2. That's negative 2 over 2, and that gives us negative 4 and a negative 1. And notice I'm writing it all down, but really, if you want to do midpoint quickly, you can just go negative 6, add on negative 2 is negative 8, negative 4. Ask your teacher, do you have to put all this down? But again, be careful. Add up 1 and negative 3 is negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. But if you take your time and fill it in, then less chances to make a mistake. X1, so add up the x's, divide by 2. Add up the y's, divide by 2. X1 plus x2, y1 plus y2. So that's 7 over 2. That's negative 8 over 2. So that's 3.5 or 3.5, whatever you want to call it, negative 4. So we're doing the midpoint. Oh, I have the pages ordered wrong. Oh, so let's put the order right. Excuse me. I'm missing a page here. Oh, missing a page. Here we go. Practice. Practice means pause the video and work it out before I do. So let's find the coordinates of the center of the circle whose diameter has endpoints of negative 8, 3 and negative 2, negative 7. So let's just draw a little diagram to explain. We have this is x and y. We have x is negative 8, 3, so let's go over here, negative 8, and pretend. So let's pretend that's negative 8, 3 roughly. And this one is x is negative 2, negative 7. X is negative 2. We'll go down here, negative 7. So he says these are the endpoints of the diameter. So that's the diameter. So here's a circle that's doing this. And the diameter moves from one point to another. And that means when we draw a circle, this is the center of the circle. Because the radius is equal. So the distance from here to here is the same as this distance here. So the center of the circle is the midpoint of the diameter. So we'll get the midpoint of the diameter. Here we go. And we get negative 8. Add on negative 2 over 2. And we'll get 3. Add on negative 7 over 2. Negative 10 over 2. Negative 4 over 2. So that gives us negative 5, negative 2. Negative 5, negative 2 is the center of the circle, which is the midpoint of the diameter. Number 2, triangle PQR has vertices of P, negative 2, 5, Q, 4, 1, 8, negative 5. Find the coordinates of the midpoint of the median from P. So let's draw a diagram quickly. P is negative 2, 5. Let's pretend that negative 2, 5 is there. Q is 4. Let's say 4, 1. Let's say that's 4, 1. That's Q. And we have an 8, negative 5. So 8 is twice as far over and 5 down. So let's pretend that that's right there. So there's R. So we have a triangle, and PQ, QR, and I'll join this up. Okay, pretend it's going hard there. It says find the coordinates of the midpoint, the median from P. So the median from P leaves and goes to the midpoint of QR. So that's the midpoint. So this is the median that leaves and goes down here and hits it at its midpoint. So we're getting the midpoint of QR. So it leaves P and goes to QR. So here we go. And QR is 4, add on 8 over 2, and 1, add on negative 5 over 2. 12 over 2, negative 4 over 2. So that's 6, negative 2 is the coordinates of the midpoint of the median. The median goes to the midpoint of the opposite side. And number 3, again, you don't forget to pause the video and work them out before I do. M is the midpoint of AB. find the values of x and y if m is 3, negative 8, a is 5y, and b is x2. So we have midpoint is x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. Don't forget that when you're looking for the midpoint, you're getting the average of the x's and the average of the y's. So m is 3, negative 8. We know what the midpoint is. Now we got, this is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. So x1 is 5, x2 is x, y1 is y, y2 is 2, and so we have 3 is equal to 5 plus x over 2. And we have negative 8 is equal to y plus 2 over 2. Because this is the x and this is the y. So the x's are equal to each other and the y's are equal to each other. Put it over 1, cross multiply. 6 equals 5 plus x. Now I can leave the x there and just move the 5. Makes it easier. I could move the x over to the right and the numbers to the, move the x to the left and numbers to the right. But if I leave the x where it is, I only got to move the 5 to get the 1. Easy. Put it over 1, cross multiply. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. 1 times y plus 2. And again, leave the y where it is. Move to 2. Much quicker. Oh, that's a 16. Almost made that error. Negative 18. So the values of x and y are found. And again, if you want to check it out, you can put a 1 right here. Was 5 plus 1 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. And negative 18 is right here. Y is negative 8. Negative 18 plus 2 is negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. So we just did a quick check. And we have one more to do. Again, pause the video. Work it out. M is the midpoint of DE. Find the values of A and B if the coordinates of D are, this is the x, which is a squared plus 4a, and the y is negative 6. The coordinates of E are 4 for the x, and a half b minus 3 for the y, and m is 8, negative 1. So m, and this is the midpoint of DE. So we have, again, just write it down, x1 plus x2 over 2, y1 plus y2 over 2. And the midpoint is already known, so that's 8 and a negative 1. And let's fill these in. This is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. So we have a squared plus 4a is x1. x2 is add on 4. Done. And y1 is negative 6. Add on y2, which is a half b minus 3 over 2. So we have, this is the x and this is the y, so that means that 8 is equal to a squared plus 4a plus 4 over 2. So 8 is equal to, this is the x, and that's the y. And we have a negative 1, which is the y, is equal to, and I'm going to add these together now. That's a negative 9 plus a half b over 2, just save a step. So we put it over 1, and we have two fractions equal, so we cross multiply. Now I can go 8 times 2 equals a squared plus 4a, or I can multiply the 1 times the a squared plus 4a. I can multiply this one equals 16. The reason I did that is keep the variables on the left side. So let's continue to work that. Notice I brought the 16 over because I got quadratic, made it negative. I have a quadratic, so it's negative 12. And this is quadratic is two answers. This is a square, so I'm going to get two values of a normally. So the product is negative 12. Product is right here. Sum is plus 4. So the factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. So because I have an a squared, this is easy to factor, is a and a. What are the factors of 12 that will give you a 4? 12 and 1 will give you a 13 or 11. 4 and 3 add up will give you 7, subtract will give you 1. So it must be 2 and 6. But the product is negative and the sum is positive, so I must have a positive and a negative number. So it's a negative 2 plus 6. Multiply, negative 12. Add, plus 4. So we have a minus 2 equals 0, or a plus 6 equals 0. So a is 2, a is negative 6. And we work this one, we put it over 1. Again, the variable, put the variable on. I'm going to multiply 1 by this. It won't change. Then I'm going to multiply negative 1 by 2. Again, I could multiply negative 1 by 2 and put it right here. And I could have this switched. But because it's always try to think ahead. So I move the 9 over, make it plus. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. 2 times a half is 1. 2 times 7 is 14. So if you want to check that out to make sure, then if you put a squared plus 4a, a is 2. I'm just doing a very quick check here now. 12. If I put negative 6 in, negative 6 squared, 4 times negative 6, 36 minus 24 is 12. So I got 12 each time. So let's check 12. So that's a 12. A squared plus 4a is a 12. That's 12. Add on 4 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8, correct. So let's check the b is 14 now. So b is 14. So we have a half b minus 3. So it's a half of 14 minus 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. So let's check 4. Negative 6, add on 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So 2, negative 6 for a because it's quadratic, and b is 14. So that brings us to our end of the review on first video pertaining to midpoint. And if you like what I'm doing, click the like button, subscribe button, visit my math website, www.mathfullyexplained.com, to find more information about me, my videos, and the content. That's the content on my YouTube channel called Math Fully Explained. Thank you for viewing my video. Bye-bye.